Yeah, and then that's how it always goes. But it's like, you can't ignore, the fire in your kitchen for the fire in your fireplace, right? Like there's
Right.
things where it's like, okay, yes, education is an important thing. We should absolutely be trying to make it better, trying to enforce it, or trying to enforce policies, whatever. Like we shouldn't be
We
dismantling the
need
Department
to
of
get
Education.
the cannibalization of the politicians from the individuals in the Democratic Party is occurring because there's nobody amplifying
Right.
what they're doing. Whereas Trump farts and Joe Rogan is talking about what it smelled like. You think shaming is going
Humans,
to motivate me to see your perspective
yeah.
better? The path of Democrats making headway is blocked by the bodies of those who are beat down for not doing it right. Shut the fuck up. That if I don't like how Aaron is working to make change, enact change, affect change in the environment, let's say that's his thing. And let's say it's my thing too, but oh no, Aaron, you don't need to be protesting. You need to be doing blah, blah, blah. What am I
Yeah,
doing?
to what end?
To what end? Shut the fuck up. Find your tribe. Find other people who are doing what you think they need to be doing. The second thing is, I think that in order to avoid the cannibal effect, you have to decide what your issues are. I think a lot of people are attacking everybody else because they're scared. So I think the energy that is spent cannibalizing other members on the left is lizard brain, and you've got to stop. Just
Yeah.
stop it. Well, hello and welcome to yet another episode of Hopeful Resistance. My name is Sarah, and here's my son Aaron.
Hi.
And we are here pretty much every week. Several of you have asked, if we were okay. Last week we had some technical difficulties, but everything's all straightened out now. So we're
Yes.
back with so much to talk about.
Be taking a week off is
We were both going into like withdrawal about being able to share our thoughts with you and as well as with each other. So we're here to, of course, always to talk about hopeful resistance, but also to talk about the things that are going on in the political environment and how do we translate those things into hopeful resistance mindset, actions, reactions, and plans, goals, processes, blah, blah, blah. So, Aaron, there's so much, like,
there's so many things.
so many,
That's gonna be once if we ever get to the point where we're making merch, we'll get shirts that just say so many things.
so many.
Um,
There's a hundred.
this week, I wanted to. We had already talked about it a bit the week before, and I think it's started to come back in with the recent protests. But the cannibalization of the Democrats, of the left, of I guess the people that are resisting the people that should be like on the forefront of resisting what's going on in the United States right now and the infighting that is occurring
I think
amongst us.
that's a super relevant topic. As a matter of fact, I had a conversation with a good friend of mine today, and that is almost immediately where we went without any prompting. And our featured guest, Susan, who did not, if you're wondering where Susan is, she's fine. She
Hmm.
her dog died, and for anyone who loves their pet, that's traumatic. And it was a traumatic death. So just send her lots of love. She'll be back. But that was what she wanted to talk about today was the
Yeah.
cannibalization of and we're gonna call it the cannibal effect, I think. And by that, what do you mean by it? Because I want to be sure we're starting on the same page.
So when I use the term cannibalization, it is a symptom of the diversity with which the Democratic Party tries to exhibit. We are so like diverse that we have such a strong diversity of ideas that everybody has different things that are important to them. Everybody has different ways in which they want to solve these problems. And whenever we disagree on those things, it basically makes us start infighting and eating each other. In it just it is probably the showcase of if the right is always in lockstep, it is because they are monolithic. Almost every person on the right generally agrees on the way that they should solve these problems. And if they don't agree, they're willing to put aside the things that they don't agree on to,
I'm gonna push back on that.
yeah,
We're close, but we're not alone
yeah,
in this because
yeah. It's the infighting is what it's really.
I think you could say the infighting exactly. I will push back, and here's what I think, and I would love to have a discussion. I think that the reason that the right seems to be so in lockstep is they have essentially identified who to hate and fear, or who to distrust, and they've identified the bad guys very clearly. And so anybody who is not us, anybody who is not them, then you don't want them here, you want them to go away. I mean, it's this unification. I agree on the unification, although I think that the strategies may vary, but they're all looking for the same goal, is to get rid of the people they don't like or agree with. And so that can operate much more quickly because we're just excising these groups that we don't like. But with Democrats or liberals or progressives, we try to be more, and I don't mean this like holy. I just mean we try to be more inclusive, and we try to, uh,
The term used to be big tent. You ever heard that term?
yeah,
It's
have everybody come
yeah,
into the
we're the big tent. The tent's big enough for everybody here.
right.
Yeah.
But in doing that, we thrive on need to have collaboration, communication, strategies, or whatever because of that inclusivity. And we have talked about this, and it has become so crystal clear for me. Fast beats smart.
For
And the
sure.
reason that I think Democrats are wallowing right now and struggling is the cannibal effect, but it's because we're attacking each other because of how they're doing it. We're all trying to do the same thing, but it's we're attacking how we're doing it.
I'm gonna start keeping notes because that was a lot of different points, and some of them I think I agree with, and some of
Aaron,
them I
Aaron,
can. Okay,
it's the only way I can
great.
keep up with
Yeah, I know.
it.
Yeah, I know. And we talk about a lot of different things. And normally, whenever anytime I do online debates, I just keep a notepad open and I just take notes, so that way I can address
Normally
specific points.
agree.
Yeah. Well, no, and I don't think there's anything wrong with us disagreeing. I think it's
Yeah.
because I feel like we've disagreed on things before, even on the show, and I think it's just helped us both kind of grow. The bullying episode would be a good example where we both kind of like, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and I might change my mind on how I think. I one thing I do want to break down is if we're talking about individuals, that's or versus talking about politicians. In my mind, those are two separate things.
So the
Because
individuals, so like the social, like on social media where they're attacking
right,
who's protesting, where we're protesting, blah blah blah. You're
right,
looking at that as a different dynamic than when we're
yes,
attacking the
and I
politics.
mean that. Right. And I mean that in the sense if we're talking about both the right and the left. Because if you look at, when I say that the right is aligned in lockstep, I mean the politicians are, first and foremost, all equally aligned behind
100%. Yeah.
whatever it is that Trump wants to do.
Of course,
And
that in their defense, not that they deserve it, need it, or want it, they've also got Elon Musk who says, "I will fund anyone who runs against you if
of
you
course,
agree with me." So that is
yeah,
motivation, but they have historically operated in lockstep. I will agree with.
right. You couple that too with this is actually the left's weakest point today, in my opinion. With if you ever watch any right wing online, like any white right wing influencers online,
No, I'm not
so you
that.
don't think so you don't think like Joe Rogan or what's I
Hey,
just
listen,
watched.
I can hardly stand to hear their voices. I did watch a 38-minute long the interview with Musk and Doge on Fox.
Mhm.
I watched all of that, but I raised a strong child. Let me just say that because no, I can't.
Yeah, I mean, well, if one thing that helps me sometimes is that I won't watch it for like directly off of someone's channel. So, for example, the one that I watched, it was the Joe Rogan Experience episode 22303, because that guy is one of the largest. And he did it with Dave Smith and Douglas Murray. Dave Smith, if you don't know who that and he don't know who that is, he's like a libertarian podcaster, who is strongly Musk. Is probably a bit Holocaust denier. I mean,
Oh, see,
and here's the thing,
I just can't even watch that.
but this is the right wing social media influencers. These people are huge. These people are gigantic in the right wing sphere.
Well, but let me pause and say, I- per my conversation earlier with my friend, they can, their following, in my opinion, their followers don't fact check anything. So these guys can essentially
No,
say whatever they want.
of
Nobody's
course.
fact checking it. They're just spewing misinformation, disinformation, opinion like it's
Yeah,
fact.
absolutely.
So, of course, they have a huge following because it's so much easier to follow someone that
Yeah.
you
Well, and
buy in.
what's worse about somebody, especially somebody like Dave Smith, Dave Smith, he identifies himself as a comedian, but then calls himself a history nerd. And then when he goes on his podcast or he brings people on his podcast or he goes on the Joe Rogan podcast, he'll sit there and talk about what he thinks about history, spewing misinformation, not non-correct facts. And then whenever anyone pushes back, I go, "Whoa, I'm just a comedian."
Okay, so when you watch this, so help me understand, when you
Yeah.
watch this, what's the end game? I mean, I will say this, let me pause real quick. I do go to what I call red sites, and I
Hmm.
do read and listen to some red influencers. So not hyper conservative, but they are Trump supporters or they are
Hmm.
I do listen to those, but some of those that you listen to are off the chain, and I would throw my computer.
I
So
I
what's
think
the end
and
game? What's the end game?
so the end game for me is, and this is going to sound so cliche, is you keep your friends close, you keep your enemies closer. I want to know what these people think. I want to know what it is that drives them, even if it's bullshit and misinformation that can be quickly debunked. The reason why I want to know this is because these people are so big that they're influenced in the way other people think. And so if we're in a sphere, if we're talking about
A
what
ton of them,
because
though. I mean,
yeah,
how,
of course.
let's be honest. I mean, starting at the top of the current administration and you know, and then mainstream media, we know in the last hell, in the last month or so, how they're not covering the 5501 protests. They're not covering. So we know that people are being fed a steady diet of information that's changing how they think.
Right. I mean, yeah, no, yeah, I would say exactly, but that's why I think it's important to know what these people think, because then if we're talking about these people are the roots that are growing the tree, then and the tree is the people that they influence, and these guys are the roots. I mean, how am I going to be able to talk someone out of a or plant a seed in someone's mind about, hey, that thing that you think is wrong, if I don't even know where they got that information from, or if I don't know what information is that they actually think.
How does that dovetail into the cannibal effect?
So the it dovetails into it because that's what the right is doing, and the left is not doing something of equivalency.
Okay, so let me
So
pause and say, I want to be sure I understand,
yeah,
so I'll
yeah.
repeat. So you're saying that the right has got these big names on YouTube and whatever, and so they're putting out all this
They're able to drive a narrative. Yeah,
mis and disinformation, but the left does not have that.
they don't. Correct. They don't. They so the left has so the easiest way to put it is, and let me try to articulate this the best way I can. The right has political influencers. The left has influencers that talk about politics. If that kind of make like you have
It
people on the
absolutely does.
left.
Right has people who are talking about lizard brain topics that, and the left is got people like David Parkman who are trying to show sources and trying to talk about
Yeah.
fact figures, data. Okay, okay, okay. I agree. 100%. They are, yes, one is
Yeah.
entertainment and one is, yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like the right wing has political influencers. Like these people
Yes.
are able to talk about these things and spew the disinformation that they do with no pushback, with no fact checking, with nothing, because because like you said, it's entertainment. They're influencers that are political.
So,
Whereas on the left, we have
if we're talking, so let me dovetail that concept into what Bernie and AOC are doing. I have never been a Bernie fan. I don't, I'm
I'm
ambivalent
still
about,
kind of not, but I like what he's doing.
yeah, I'm ambivalent about AOC, but I am hugely supportive of, impressed by, energized by the fact that these people are filling stadiums
Yeah.
and they are influencing.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that they're changing minds the way the Joe Rogan and whoever
Right.
the guy Dave Smith are, because it does require, I mean, hate and fear does not require a lot of conscious thought.
Yeah.
And I can just say, those people who are different from you are going to hurt you or take something away from you. And I don't even have to back it up because that taps into this lizard brain thinking.
Yeah.
But what's it going to take? I mean, when we talk about the cannibal effect, I mean, Aaron, let's talk about it from the politician point of view.
Okay.
Uh, for how long?
Uh, I would go ahead.
Wait,
Go
hang
ahead.
on.
Go ahead.
From the
Yeah.
inauguration on, what are the Democrats doing? How come nobody's doing anything? Nobody's getting out there and doing anything. And there was all this stuff being done. Ariella.elm is documenting it literally every day.
Yeah.
Now they finally have got YouTube channels. So they've got the Daily Democrat download. And I mean, they've got all this stuff, and you're still hearing people say, what are they doing?
Right.
What is that about?
I don't think that's the politician side. To me, that's the like this like the non like the people side of it, right?
So even if
Because
the
the
politicians are the ones with these YouTube pages, you're not making, that's not the politician side?
No, because the politicians have been always doing something. The disconnect between the politicians doing something and people seeing it is, in my opinion, not the politician's fault. And it also couples with that thing that I was just talking about, where like the right has political influencers. So whenever there's like a big right wing talking point, they can push it out. But
They push the narrative
we're
out
just now getting on that bandwagon. We're just now catching up to that.
100%. I can see that. I can see that. So 100% the cannibalization of the politicians from the individuals in the Democratic Party is occurring because there's nobody amplifying
Right.
what they're doing. Whereas Trump farts and Joe Rogan is talking about what it smelled like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, Joe Rogan, I mean, all of them. Like, and I could pull up my YouTube subscriptions and go down the list of people that of channels that I don't know if I'm subscribed to them anymore, but I could pull up countless videos and send them to you, but a lot of them are long form. I like long form content. Um, but yeah, I mean, and that is, I think, one part of the problem. The other part of the problem is in our diversity and our willingness to like bring people in. We what you wind up with is you wind up with single issue, like voters, I guess is the best
Well, it isn't
way to
even
put it.
single issue voters, although that's probably what it translates down to in my mind. It's single issue activists. Like,
Yeah,
well, there's actually a bifurcation here. There's single issue activists in terms of the thing that we're going to get all excited about. So is it the environment or education or whatever? And I see that. And if you're not excited about it, or if you're not involved in what the hell's wrong with you? Right? This,
yeah. Why aren't you doing anything, right? Why? Yeah,
and then there's the other group that is pro protest or anti protest, or I remember having many discussions about these boycotts and the things that,
or pro and anti voting or pro.
well,
Yeah, I mean,
the things people were trying to do with Tesla stock, and there's definitely been an impact with Tesla, right? But
yeah.
it's, so that's this bifurcation uh that's a good point. The single issue,
The single issue activist is the best way to put that's a fantastic way to put it.
yeah,
It's
single issue activist.
and one thing that, you know, I some of the left leaning political influencers. I mean, again, some of them aren't nearly as big, but one thing that they talk about too is it's like with the people that tend to be these single issue activists. Um, it's almost like it's not even about the thing that they're activists about. It's about the activity of activism that motivates them,
Right?
right? So they always need something to be protesting, but they always need something to be activist about.
Yeah.
Um, and it's different for all of them, but it starts to cause that cannibalization because that's what they thrive on. That if you're not for them 100%, like if you're not out there, if you're not agreeing with what they're so passionate about, then you become
Become
the
the
enemy
problem.
to them.
I
Right.
also wonder too, and I'm encouraging people, if you see yourself in any of these conversations, check yourself, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things that I also see is the discussion about um I want to find it. Just give me a second. I want to
Yeah.
find this. I'm 99% sure that it was Cory Booker who said this when he did his most recent, or when he did the speech. Technically, it wasn't a filibuster, but it was a filibuster, but it was a speech.
Yeah.
He said, "I'm not going to allow my inability to do everything undermine my ability to do something." And
Something.
my logic here is the Democrats are cannibalizing one another because you're not doing the thing I think you need to be doing. But there is so much out there to be done. I care about all of it, but I don't care to become an activist about education or the environment because I care about immigration, Social Security, VA benefits. Okay.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I'm wrong. And it doesn't mean somebody who's all over, like Ms. Frazzled, who's all over this education thing. But I have
Yeah.
had people tell me that I ought to be doing this other thing. And I
Right.
think that is cannibalization. You're beating me up because I'm not doing this thing.
Yeah, because I'm not on top of the thing that you think I should be on top of. And I think with another thing that's worth noting about any of these things is it's not like somebody isn't doing something about education. It's not like there's not, it's we can't ignore there's an analogy out there and it'll come to me at some point,
Yeah,
but it's
right
like
when we're done recording, I'm sure.
yeah, and then that's how it always goes. But it's like, you can't ignore, the fire in your kitchen for the fire in your fireplace, right? Like
Right.
there's things where it's like, okay, yes, education is an important thing. We should absolutely be trying to make it better, trying to enforce it, or trying to enforce policies, whatever. Like we shouldn't be
We
dismantling the
need to
Department of
be doing
Education.
something about the educational
Yes. But
dismissal.
not at the sacrifice of something that could be more important, and whether
To
that more
us,
important thing is
to me, that because there's
right.
people who are working on this Department of Education dismantling.
Right.
And so that means, okay, yay. So this little group goes over there, but we're beating each other up because you're not focused on all these things. So I think of that as one method of cannibalization that we have got to stop doing. If if you care about education and I care about the environment, okay, you do you, boo boo, and I'm going to
Yeah.
find people who care about the environment instead of spending all this energy in person and online, beating you up, abusing you, dragging you down, trying to tell you how you should be doing things
Yeah.
because
Well,
you're not doing what I think you should do.
yeah, and I think it goes to the other thing is it's like if you're gonna sit here and yell and shame me online, do you suddenly think that's gonna change make like just think of like
You think shaming is going
humans?
to motivate me to see your perspective
Yeah.
better?
Yeah, because if and I feel like that's also been a bigger problem, not to cannibalize ourselves, but I think that's also been a big problem with the left, with progressives, with liberals, just in general, right? Is like anytime somebody doesn't align to our views, um, to be clear, um, some views deserve to be shamed, of course, right? But
100%.
just because someone may not agree with me about one thing or be as focused on one thing as I am doesn't mean that we don't agree that on whatever it is it should be focused on.
Well, this is the thing. And as a matter of fact, this
If it
is
made sense.
my it did make sense
Yeah.
because if you it's like when you and I have these conversations and you're more concerned about one certain area. We both agree. Let me back up. This week was difficult for me mentally because I felt like all the things were hitting all at once, just all the
Right.
things, so many things.
Many things.
And I
Yeah.
just couldn't even wrap my brain around all of it. And so I called or communicated with video chats with my friends in Australia and Germany and England and Africa. I'm blessed to have friends around the world going, okay, is it as bad? It feels bad, and it's like crazy over here. But what does it look like over there? And they're like, oh yeah, it's crazy.
It's
And so
crazy.
then we could talk through. I had to go back and revisit and reset. What are the things I'm resisting? And I had
Yeah.
to actually make this list of the things that matter to me that I want to focus on because it's like all of it's on fire. And I'm
Yeah.
not even, in the same location as you are. So I know that my family, my grandchildren, I mean, you guys are like in the middle of it. But let me read something here. I wanted to share this with you. So I made a post about what I don't I made a post on Threads that what I don't understand is the energy spent on cannibalizing people who are resisting the administration because one group likes this and one group likes that. And then I said the path of Democrats making headway is blocked by the bodies of those who are beat down for not doing it right.
Yeah.
There's a guy named Robert Cortez who answered, and I really like what he said, and I want to read it. He said, the problem as I see it is that there are one set of Democrats that support what they have been doing for 50 years. They're moderates, centrists, corporates, espousing incrementalism, compromise, congeniality. But there's another set that thinks more of the same thing isn't enough. It hasn't been enough and it's never going to be enough. They're demanding more, they're demanding better, and saying that we can't keep doing the same things and expect different results. And I thought, oh my God, basically what he's saying is fast is beating smart, and that we have to worry less about the nice and do the right thing, but not the way we've been doing it.
Yeah. So I would say yes and no. I mean
Yes,
the in
and
the in, yeah, well, because the incremental change, I really hate whenever people say these incremental changes haven't worked. They have. I mean, I'm sorry, but the ACA, Obamacare is a very clearly defined example of incremental change working. Because it was eventually up to a point where enough changes had occurred through the government that we were able to pass ACA. And while it shouldn't have taken that long, and we can all agree that it shouldn't have taken that long, and that medical care, healthcare in the United States still needs to get better. That doesn't mean that we're not doing that something hasn't happened. And
I don't
so
I don't disagree.
and well, so yes, I agree that we should speed things up. I don't want that to be done the way it's being done.
We don't want to
So
become what we're resisting.
right. I would not want to elect a Democratic president and have him unwrite every. I mean, well, I want him to unwrite everything Trump's done, but I
Yeah.
don't want him to just come in and then write a bunch of executive orders during his term, and then another Republican wins and undo all of it. We need to be
To change the system. At least.
right. We need to overhaul it in Congress and get bills passed,
Mhm.
and this is that's what and that's just what we need to do.
Yeah, I think this is part of the reason that liberals, I'm gonna just say the left, because for me, that's that's everybody, centrists, progressives, moderate. I mean, I don't know how else. I don't want to try and break it down into all
Yeah,
these.
the left is probably the right because that includes like classical liberals. It includes
Right,
progressives. It even includes the tankies and
right.
the crazy and the
But I mean, here's
crazies
the
that
thing. I think that there is so much to be done, um, that it can feel like the cannibalization. I think the cannibal effect comes from we're attacking each other because we don't feel like we're making headway. And I can't attack the bad guys, so I'm going to attack you for not attacking the bad guys the way I think you should.
Yeah, I think I think that's exactly right. And I feel like it probably stems from the from that feeling of powerlessness because we are absolutely in the minority, which which makes it
We're
very
not in
difficult.
power, and this is the frustrating
Yes,
for me. We're not in power, but we're not powerless.
right.
And I think that democratic mindset of let's work together uh, is been a hindrance. And I think giving ground, and Robert Cortez said this as well, giving ground to Republicans with the mindset of let's work together is not being reciprocated. And so
Yeah, it's
that's
not going to work
what got
right
us
now.
here. Yeah, that's what got us here right now.
Yeah.
The other thing, so action items, I mean, if you're watching this and you see yourself and you realize that you're engaging in this cannibal effect of attacking other people who are liberal, I think there's some action items here that we need to talk about. I think the first one is, and it's not going to be kind, or not, I'm sorry, it's not going to be nice, but I mean it in the kindest possible way. Shut the fuck up. That if I don't like how Aaron is working to make change, enact change, affect change in the environment, let's say that's his thing. And let's say it's my thing too, but oh no, Aaron, you don't need to be protesting. You need to be doing blah, blah, blah. What am I
Yeah,
doing?
to what end?
To what end? You know, I think that the first thing, if you find yourself attacking other liberals, other leftists, stop it. First thing. Second thing, find
People
right.
on the left, but yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, people on the left.
Yes,
The
yes.
term yeah, that yeah.
Oh,
The
sorry.
term leftist is it's just because the term leftist is so to me those are like that's some of the most extreme. Those
Oh, sorry. So people
yeah.
on the left, if you find yourself attacking people on the left for how they're doing things or what issues they're getting involved with, or they should have done this protest or not that protest, just shut the fuck up. Find your tribe. Find other people who are doing what you think they need to be doing. The 3.5% answer is 11.5 million people in the United States over a concerted period of time engaging in resistance activities. They're not all doing the same thing. And
Right. And we couldn't all be like hyper focused on a single issue. And I think it's unreasonable um and I think it's unreasonable to think that we all would, right? That we would all just
it,
magic because we're not the right. We're
it
not just all going to
defies
magically align.
Well, it defies logic. Even the right is not always focused on one issue. They're shotgunning the whole damn thing. So, I mean, there are people
Which is which in their
in
in their
their defense.
defense, that's
I know it.
that.
It's
Yeah,
just
I was gonna say
that.
that they all love that that's what's happening. So that's
Oh
why
my gosh,
that's what they align on.
if I had a dollar for every time I go to a red site and they're talking about eggs are 2.99, and I'm
Where?
like, look, I can Google that from a very unbiased source and say, okay, they may be in one place, but not in the other. Anyway, the
Yeah.
point being, first action item, if you find yourself attacking other people on the left for how they're doing things or what issues they're supporting, shut up, go find your tribe. The second thing is, I think that in order to avoid the cannibal effect, you have to decide what your issues are. I think a lot of people are attacking everybody else because they're scared. They're scared. They don't know what they're fighting against. I consider myself a pretty emotionally intelligent person. And this last week, I was just overwhelmed. I mean, we had a lot of other stuff going on, but when it came to this, I was like, ah, fuck it. I just.
Yeah.
So figure out what are you resisting. I posted on Facebook because I like their long form 13 things that I
Oh,
find
sorry.
that am I boring you?
No,
I
no,
know you've had a
we've
busy,
had a long day. We were
I know you do, but you've
yeah.
got AC.
Yeah, we do. And
Woohoo,
that's definitely nice. Yeah.
right? So I think if you're struggling, you've got to figure out what are you resisting. And I think the third thing is that you have to, I think the people on the left have to recognize that right now, in this moment, we are not receiving the media attention nor access, nor do we have this media personality kind of thing, like you said, influencers who are sharing what's going on. You are going to have to exert a little
Big
effort.
ones, because
Got
we
a lot
do
of,
have influencers.
yeah, we got
Um,
influencers.
but
David
we
Hoffman, I think, has like 3 million
right,
people.
yeah, but we don't have people that are like big political influencers.
I don't disagree. So the first thing is shut up and find your tribe. The second thing is figure out what it is you care about. And I think the third thing is you have to start looking for the information. Aaron and I mean, Aaron, we have worked really hard to compile that list of, and I post it on every single show description of the news outlets that we recommend. Ariella Elm, who lists the 3 wins of the day. Aaron has started a Google Doc file where we post the link to the wins of the week. This week we're like up to 18 wins or something. So I think the energy that is spent cannibalizing other members on the left is lizard brain, and you've got to stop. Just
Yeah.
stop it. There was a comedian who was a therapist, and God, what was the name of that? Just stop it. Anyway,
Just
okay, so he had a guy come in, Bob Newhart. This guy comes
okay.
to the therapist and he says, I keep doing this thing. So Bob Newhart just very calmly says, well, stop doing that thing. And the guy's like, yeah, but I think about it all the time. And he goes, stop it. And by the he's yelling at the guy, just stop it. So that's where we
That
are.
sounds
Okay.
like a funny
Aaron
one.
and I
That
are
sounds good.
trying to do a few short form shows. And so we are going, do you have anything else you want to add to this one about the cannibal effect?
Um, no, I mean, I think your action items.
So
I
many
think,
there.
I think your action items hit the nail on the head. I think this goes back to a thing that recently I was talking with some friends about. It's like, look, we agree. I would say we probably agree wholly on all the things that need to change, and I think that ideologically we agree on making things better. So why do we have to be like staunchly aligned on the methods by which we would go about that, or staunchly aligned on on what issues are more important than others? Like if you're working something,
100%. I could agree
and
with
I
that.
think if you're working something, I can almost promise you that whatever protest you're going to, whatever you're calling your rep about, I would love to go to that protest and call, but I might be doing another thing. I
Something
might be calling my rep or going to protest for something else that you would agree is important. So why do we have to fight over
right.
which one's more important? Why can't we just go at different things?
No, I love that. That's a
Mhm.
great analogy.
So,
All right. So today's conversation was about the cannibal effect, and we gave you action items, we gave you things to look for. And until we get together again, my friends, bye for now.